All right.
So we want to welcome everybody to YBMW Empowerment Podcast. Guest of honor today, due to some technical difficulties, is the amazing Amyrical Tucker. Me and Amyrical met a few months ago, and since we've met, we've been connected and we've been chiming. We just had a long conversation for about 8-9 minutes right now. That was very impactful, and hopefully we can tie it back in. And so one of the things that I'm gonna do is, once, if you don't mind, me asking Amyrical to introduce herself to you guys and let you know who she is and where she's from, and then we can just revamp the conversation if you don't mind.
Love that.
So boom, it's on Amyrical. So Amyrical, introduce yourself, tell them who you are, where you're from.
Well, I'm Amyrical. I'm 17. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm from Tacoma. I was born here. I've been here my whole life. And one thing I do is I run a program called Black is Almighty. And it's youth-led. And we work on mental health, gang violence awareness, and prevention strongly. And we just teach kids the professional heights that they're capable of reaching and create a positive space for them to be at and feel like themselves and just learn and create positive relationships with kids like them.
And a phenomenal space. And so what I was just asking Amyrical right before we realized, thank you, Jill, for letting us know that you can't hear us, and I know that you guys can hear us now, and I appreciate you. So one of the questions that I was asking Amyrical was, do she believe that my culture and her culture have the ability to build a better future? And your response to that was yes. And then you was going on to elaborate on how we were able to do it, and you said we're doing it now. And so could you share with people on what do you mean by we're doing it now versus being able to work on doing something? What is the things that's happening right now to say that it's a clear moment?
Which is, for example, like we said in the last live, me and you have only been working with each other for like 6 or 7 months, and we've created so much together. We've done plenty of events to where we have kids that are waiting for our next one, and they're gonna bring their friends, and they're gonna bring their friends, and like we've just built so much in this small period of time. It's like, so I know if like we would have more of these type of bonds everywhere, that we would be able to have so much more powerful, meaningful situations for the youth.
And so with that, and I do agree, I do agree in the work that we are doing, because it's one thing to talk about being able to do things, and it's another thing to just get interactive and just start making things happen.
And actually do
for
it.
sure, straight up. And so we were sharing about the disconnection, with how some adults find it's normal for adults to talk down to young people, and then for young people to feel unappreciated and not accepted, and so they don't want to hear anything that we have to say as adults. And so the question was, what are some of the solutions to building a bridge versus keeping the divide? What would you say was some of the solutions of making that happen?
Like we said before in the last conversation, believe, because he believed in me and he seen my potential, and look what we've done already. I feel like people don't really think that youth are capable of doing the same things as them, but we're more than capable, and it's been shown by me and Malik and plenty other youth that we've seen and you work with, that it is capable. It just takes that belief, and it goes both ways as well, but it takes the adults to make the youth comfortable to want to believe in them, to want to like take those steps and do those things, just how Threat did. Like it was definitely a working process before we got here, but we're here now and we're making the moves and doing the things.
And then one of the things that I know for sure is that like empowerment, I validate you. That's why I said when we first started talking, you're not somebody that I'm working with. You're somebody that's helping build something, We're partners, you know what I'm saying? When we show up in a room, we show up together. You got an idea, you got a brand that you're bringing in here. I got an idea, I got a brand that I'm bringing up in here. And so whenever we occupy a space, this is not a token young person. This is a person I identify as you covering grounds that I highlight over. And so I'm going to ask you your choice of approach. Like, and when it comes to a role or your niche, your lane in the industry or community, you chose mental health. Why did you choose mental health as a angle that you would want to approach the community with?
I chose mental health because just things that happened in my life and just the way that I grew up, having parents that weren't really mentally there but always financially there, taught me that like there was a bigger picture to life, that you actually need mental health, and that's actually a fundamental to have in your life. And I've seen a lot of my cousins grow up and they were like some of the sweetest kids, like some of the sweetest kids, and like as they grew up they just got this anger and like I was always like a girl cousin, you know, like I was like their little sister, even though we were all cousins. So I was always around, and I got to see everyone of their emotions when no one wanted to listen to them, when they felt stupid, when they felt like they couldn't do something, like, you know, like it was all like, it's really a lack of mental health and a lack of pride. Like, I just felt like I've always been like a different type of thinker, so I've always seen like a different way of things, and I've always felt like, if like they knew how to like handle their emotions, a lot of them wouldn't be where they're at now. And that's why I decided to take this approach, because I know there's thousands and thousands and thousands of kids that I can help reach before they end up where me or my cousins are at. You know?
100%. And so when you hear emotional trauma, what comes to mind? Like, what's your idea of trauma and emotions, the whole play on emotions in a harmful way? How do you feel the inabilities to harness a person's emotions? How do you feel like that perpetuates negative behavior?
Like, for someone to not know how to handle their emotions? Because, like, for example, like, say if someone's going through like a really rough time in life, and like someone is like just did the littlest thing to make them so upset, or someone disrespected them. If they're not taught how to like receive disrespect with anger going on, they're gonna flip out and they're gonna crash out and do something that they didn't mean to do because they didn't process their emotions right. And that's not something that you just know. That's something that you're sat down and taught. When you're angry, you don't hit. When you're angry, you don't do that. You know, so I feel like it's really like learning that like mind over matter and how to control your mind.
How to accept disrespect. I think that's a powerful phrase. And I've never heard it before. And, you know, I've heard people say, well, you can't just let people say anything and move you and control your energy, but to accept disrespect, I think it's a powerful approach, because it is true. A lot of people are going to disrespect you. A lot of people are going to be foul. A lot of people are going to say things. But for you to accept accept people saying whatever they feel like they want to say, it's almost one of those, as long as a person don't put their hands on me, then I can't be too offended by what a person is saying. You know, because sometimes if a person says something to me and I respond to it, then some kind of way I feel like it might be true. So I agree, you know, helping a young person regulate their emotions and embrace their feelings and things, it will go a long way. Do you believe that there's a difference between the way young boys come up in the community versus young women come up in the community?
For sure. Like, I feel like my parents were a lot more delicate with me. Like, even though they weren't really, like, mentally there, they definitely treated me a lot differently than they treated my brothers. Like, growing up, whenever, like, my cousins or my brothers would cry, they'd get soft in the chest and be like, take it like a man, something, no wussy. Like, I really don't remember, but I do remember. And that taught that taught toxic masculinity. But me, when I was crying, you know, my dad was like, oh, girlfriend, what's wrong? He's singing me songs, trying to make me happier. So it's just two different things. Men are breeded into thinking that they have to be strong, and like they just, like, I feel like a lot of people in our culture are grown up to think that like men are supposed to be something that they're really not supposed to be. In my opinion, I feel like a man is being able to stand your ground and be able to feel your emotions and not feeling any shame, because that's being strong, because that's you're being yourself, you know. But that's not what they're really taught growing up.
And I agree, because I used to treat my nephews and, you know, growing up the same way. I remember my nephew had, I don't know if you remember these things called Bowflex. It's a workout machine, and it had the resistant bars, and one resistant bar had like 190 pounds of resistant. And so he pulled it off one day, and it flung up and hit him in the eye socket. And he grabbed his eye, and he was like 8, grabbed his eye, and he walked in the room, and I said, are you all right? He was like, yeah, it takes more than that to hurt me, Unc. And I'm looking at him, I was like, if that would have hit me in my eye, I don't know how I would have responded. But his response was based off of what he thought I would say if he started crying. And if he would have started crying, I would, at that time, not knowing the difference on if it hurts, then embrace it, that it hurts. You know, don't hide it. You gotta feel that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta feel it. And once you feel it, now we can talk about overcoming the sensation of the pain. But first and foremost, it's feel it. What benefit do you come from? What do you think that people benefit from feeling their hurt or their pain?
I feel like you actually get to process it. Like, feeling things and processing things are so important, because a person will go through something and like will start distracting themselves with drugs and alcohol and things like that. But you get a more positive result when you actually go through things, feel them, and think. When you Like, your mind could be your biggest enemy or your best friend if you let it be. So when you're just sitting down to yourself and really thinking through things before you're making these impulsive decisions, you'll have great results.
100%. So feeling it, processing it, allowing yourself to know that this happened, and it's one of the things I tell a lot of people I work with. Acceptance is one of the most crucialest things for a person to overcome any type of trauma or tragedy. It's the denial that people have. The why it had to happen to me. It's like, I understand why it had to happen to you, but the moment that you can accept that it literally happened to you.
For you.
To
make you, you know, then, like, that's what's going to start. I feel like that's what helps the healing. Like, when you figure out why it happened, then everything else is going to come like that. You know, because, like, it's going to teach you something, everything that you go through. So when you learn what it's teaching you, you're going to follow that, you know.
100%. And these are things that a lot of adults say that they know, and I encourage a lot of adults to be a little more serious about your interactions with that generation that comes after you, because your era is more important than my current era, because as we age out, you guys is aging in. So I want to stay connected. I want to stay connected into a future that's unfolding into something different that I'm not prepared for. I'm not prepared for what's happening right now, but your culture is so ingrained into it because a lot of your people was born into this new technology, digital, you know, virtual, you know, accessible. You know, we outside doing backflips and stuff and riding bikes and getting dirty and playing around. You know, your era is a little more, it's almost like it's not as much sociability unless you create it. You know, do you feel that the way society and social media is portraying things, do you believe that have a large impact, or is it just, or it's just TV? Because most people are like, you can't blame television or this and that or music on kids' behavior. Do you feel like there's a way that you can incorporate that into the behavior patterns of young people?
Yes, I feel like, you know how, like, your parents don't let you watch certain stuff when you're younger? I feel like there's a reason for that, and I feel like there's a reason why your parents should let you listen to certain music when you're younger, because all that kind of stuff feeds your mind. So it does not matter, like kids from, like, your, generation, other than kids from my generation, are like, whether to go on the internet and see something really, really inappropriate and keep scrolling through it, because that's just what kids do. Other than someone from your generation, you guys didn't really have that accessibility, you know. So it's just like, kids have so much room to feed their mind with negative stuff and not enough positive stuff on social media, and that's why I just really don't really like it as much for kids, because there's not enough positivity going on. Like, when you go online, you see girls with fake hair and doing ratchet stuff. That's not what you want to portray yourself as a lady. Like, doing all of these, like, out-of-pocket movements, honestly, like, just portraying yourself in the wrong way. And I feel like it's for boys, like, going on, like, right when you, like, hear something, like, the most famous rapper right now, he's talking about taking drugs, hitting his girlfriend, doing inappropriate things to his girlfriend, or killing someone. Those are all things that are feeding your mind, and it's going to come regular if you let it become regular, you know. And
then the people that have the most control over it is the adults, you know. And so what's your take on that? To the adults, like, being able to speak to these adults, they regulate social media. They allow things that, we come from a place of censored. Our stuff was censored, you know, bleeping out every music song that was on the radio station. We didn't have any of that. So for adults to allow this to flow through, what would be the benefit of that? Or what would you feel like they would even allow that to happen for?
Like, are you asking me, like, why do I feel like they're allowing, or what they should do? Like,
well, okay, even better. What should they do?
Push more positivity on social media, because, like, obviously social media is a thing, and you can't really, like, tell everybody else to stop being negative, because negative sells. But I feel like positivity could sell too if the right people are doing it. You know, like, we can make positivity look cool too. Like, that's just what I think. Like, we should definitely push more positivity on social media. Like.
And so when you came up with Black is Almighty, what spearheaded you to say Black is Almighty? What was the thought that went through your head when you came up with that?
I just wanted people, because I love my culture. Like, I always have my whole entire life. And honestly, like, when I heard the name, like, it just gave what I was trying to give, to show that our culture is strong and we could do it. And you guys are so, like systematically, I feel like we're built to fail. And I want to show them that and be like, look, we're really strong. This is what we can do. We're not going to fail. Because, like, our people, we can do a lot if we put our mind to it.
Yeah, because Black is... It's the truth.
Almighty.
It really is. It really is. And for people that don't even come from the culture, they see it. You know,
feel it.
Yeah, they do.
At all of our events too, and that's why they want to show up, because our energy is something different. You know.
And so when I look at people too, even outside of culture, I say to people, you know, people will try to imagine like where we come from. And I say, but look at the power of black people. And we're so against of causing harm that we're loving people. Because we're so against of causing harm to so many people, even our so-called oppressors, even the superiority in white America. We tolerate so much from these systems, but we show so much hatred and turmoil towards each other. And that goes to show for anybody that's outside of our culture, you see that the love for other people is so genuine. And we do love ourselves, but the disconnect is like, it's traumatizing, it's self-sabotaging. And that's just the way it is for now. But I do agree with you that the more we're able to keep coming together and keep building, I think that we get more clarity. And that, not the clarity for other people to be understanding, but the clarity for us to see that it can be done. Your first panel, what was going through your mind on your first panel? Shout out to Summit Olympus for allowing us to be able to use your venue and your space to do our first panel with Amyrical and her team. What was going through your mind when you did your first panel?
A lot.
Yeah.
I really just wanted to be able to teach kids pure game while having fun. You know how we had like the games and everything else. So like when they're showing up, they're still having fun, but they're learning game and consuming game. Because everything we talked about on that panel, I bet someone went home that day and was rethought about their whole situation. And that's really all I wanted to do. Is like I really wanted to reach certain people and certain kids and just make them look at things differently. Honestly.
And that was your first time doing a panel, right?
Yeah.
Was that, so the first time you had a good turnout, a lot of people, you did great with your promotion, so you understand the fundamentals. What are some of the best ways for you to be able to reach young people in community? What approach do you predominantly take to go out there and pull people in?
I just be myself. Honestly, I tell them what I do. And I've been around the community so long, everybody already knows my face. So it's just like when I see other youth that already know me, I just show them to me now in a more positive light. And they're like, wow, I knew who you used to be. And like, this is what you're doing now. I want to do it too. You know, like it's cool to see how much like you've grown as a person and done all these things. I want to hop on board. So that's really the approach that I take. But panels and stuff is really an approach that we're going to start taking more. We do have we have 2 panels coming up, one in September and one at the end of the August. And we're definitely going to keep giving those to youth like our events and just putting them on a straight game every time they come and just really brand ourselves off of teaching youth game by doing these panels.
Because I remember, and you said something earlier that a lot of people have this misconceived perspective of young people that come from the culture. And I feel the same way about my generation, I found so many beautiful people in my culture, regardless of what they got incarcerated for, regardless of what they done before they was murdered and killed, regardless on these things that people see or hear about. I come from a space of beautiful people. And when you say that about yours, how do you feel when people judge what they see of a community that seems in turmoil? They just place judgment versus really understanding. What goes through your mind when you see people just constantly judging versus being proactive to being a part of solutions?
I honestly feel hurt because a lot of the places that we step into, they're basing our lives off statistics and things that happen on what it looks like on the TV or like what you Google and search about Tacoma, but they don't talk about what goes on at home, what their build-up looks like, what their come-up looks like. Like they don't think about that and like the real life situations that people go through to like take them to where they're at. And I honestly just feel like it makes me want to go even harder because I know like they're how I explain like I know how to like I forgot what I was even going at because I'm just thinking about so much things. Can you repeat the question one more time?
So basically when it comes to the way people perceive your culture and make judgment and not knowing who the people really are, and they just think these is bad people, they should do better, but they're beautiful people in heart. And so my question to you was, how do you feel about people placing judgment versus knowing what a person is going through from this community that we live in?
Well, yeah, like I said, I honestly feel a lot of hurt, but it also makes me feel a lot more ambitious because I feel like I want to go 10 times harder for the people who can't speak up for themselves and be like, I'm not a bad person even though I did this, that. I want to speak up for them and be like, look, they're not a bad person. They really were just going through this, and this, and they were emotionally unled. You know, like they didn't know any better.
And there's a lot of people that take advantage of young people. And I know in my era, it was all the so-called big homies or whatever the case may be. I'm going to keep moving this. We edit. a lot of so-called big homies took advantage of the younger people. Does that happen in the culture that you're coming from right now through experience?
For sure. A lot of the young people, I mean, like a lot of the older people that you see, they're the ones that are recruiting these young people, making it seem cool, making them see what they're doing is cool. And, you know, when kids don't see the big picture and can't see the bigger picture, all they know is that they got some friends that are riding for them until they die, and they got to give that same loyalty back. You know, like they feel like, again, with the toxic masculinity, that they gotta have heart. I honestly have been thinking about that a lot, like, cause like when you hear like a lot of the gang members talking about like things that they're doing, like they want them to have heart, and I feel like that's really important to like a young man to be like have heart. You know, like when you really do think about it, like when you're not thinking about the bigger picture, you're gonna fall like for all of the what's the word?
The hoorah.
Yeah.
The extra.
Yeah, the extra, the girls, all the things you're not supposed to be doing, you know? That's just how it goes.
And so that, you know, and it's one of my biggest approaches too, and especially from my culture, you know, even my older friends, you know, me being in my 40s, you know, I got homeboys that, you know, and not putting none of my people out, but I got homeboys that still condone, you know, a lot of the rhetoric, the BS, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, you have to at least at some point in your adult life, bro, find something better for you, so that way you can lead by example. Because a lot of times, young people is like, what's that phrase? People listen more to what you're doing and not what you're saying. So if you tell a young person you should stop this street stuff and get in school and go get a job, young people are gonna like, but what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? If you're not jobbing or in school, they ain't like, man, save that. But to lead by example. So do you feel that example leading is a better approach, or just pushing words?
Like us by example, I feel like us showing that this kind of stuff, like what we're doing, building more positive spaces for kids, making it look fun, that's already influencing them to want to come to those spaces and everything. So like influences is really everything, but it's whether if it's positive or negative, is if it's gonna work. You know, like I feel like by us making like by us influencing kids to do like more positive stuff, like it'll work because it looks like we're having fun by doing it, and like again, they look like they're having fun by doing the negative stuff. So we just got to make it look cool.
Heck yeah, I agree to that, and that's one of my things I was talking about. This layout called Operation Snakebite. And for nobody that knows that, it's none of your business right now, but I will break it down at some point. But we're in a space now in society, it is building relationships. Young people at school, so there's some students that go to McCarver, and I went to McCarver a few times. And what I see in McCarver is like ridiculous. Kids are screaming. Says it's like what? McCarver's like 3rd, 4th graders, elementary school. You know, these kids out there screaming. Says they feeling themselves like in a major way. And it's like, I know where that stems from. I'm pretty sure you know where it stems from. But for people and teachers that don't know how to relate, what would be some advice to the teachers that try to figure, or even a person that want to build with young people that are so-called responsible for our young people in those environments? What would you say to a person that don't come from it but want to work with it and do what they can? Would you have any feedback for them?
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's boundaries. Like, I feel like there's certain stuff you can and you can't do. Like, I feel like you won't be able to reach them how you really want to unless you can relate to them and give them a story to feel comfortable to, like, tell them yours. But you can be a safe space for them. And I feel like that's just how people can help, by helping, like, build more positive spaces for kids to come in and be themselves and really highlight the real life issues that go on, not by statistics or anything. That's definitely something.
Man, so real life. Stop following statistics, build a safe space, and allow young people to come into your space and be themselves. And a lot of the times you might not understand themselves, so associate yourself with somebody that's a little more inclined to understanding the culture. You know, because I've realized that in society, in the space that we're in right now, even in the black community, you know, as a black male, there's so many black men that don't want to collaborate with me because my primary focus is to empower your generation. You know, I feel that if people are being compensated for X, Y, and Z in the community, you spending thousands of dollars for keynote speakers to go to Lincoln High School or Stadium or any high school or middle school for that matter, and these people that they hire is coming from out of state, I'm thinking like, what's more empowering than to find young people that come from the school or come from the community that are doing great things and let that person come into school and be the guest speaker or be the keynote speaker.
And that's a way more better influence than knowing, like, to have someone that they know that is around than having some stranger come tell them a whole bunch of stuff and it sounds like agging.
Yeah.
But if you have someone who has lived experience, you're already, like you, if you go into like a space like McCarvey, you're already going to know how to connect with the kids because you've Loki kind of already had the same kind of upbringing. So your energy is going to be different than someone else who doesn't have the same experience and not knowing how to really connect with kids. Same with youth that have the same upbringing as them. We're going to know how to connect with them on a whole different level other than somebody else. Or like what we say is going to be different and they're going to feel it on a whole different other level as well.
Because I was going to say, you said energy. The energy. Do you think the energy plays an important part when trying to build connection?
Sure.
And how?
Because kids, like, they're just kids, you know, they're going to want to go at someone with great energy, not someone who's talking like this or someone who's just boring, honestly. But when you come with that energy and, like, again, making things look fun and, like, you're fun and this is what we're doing, like, this is, you know, then I feel like you're going to get a lot more kids, like, more drawn into what you're doing. And then I feel like that's when we slip in the game too. So they're learning and having fun, you know, like
it's like hiding medicine and candy or something. Right, you know what I'm saying? Coat the candy, you know. Not nobody want to take the medicine or be restructured or, you know, change perspectives, but by creating an environment to make a person feel like, oh, this is lit or this is we turned up, but it's a message in it. It's a purpose in it. You know, I see a lot of people create spaces because they want to be acknowledged for certain things, but I'm like, create a space to empower certain people. I feel like, and again, the fellas around me, you know, and a lot of these brothers, you know, they got master's degrees, and I go back to that. They got their master's degrees, their doctorate degrees, their PhDs, and et cetera, whatever the case may be. And so I'm not as embedded into that space because they identify success and people that are relevant based off of the merit or the credentials. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, they will call on me if they needed me to be proactive in a space that could probably impact a specific group. But as far as me being connected to what possibilities on a day-to-day basis, I don't get access. That's why I find myself reaching and building with your culture and building with people like Malik and my nephew Justice Recent Tank and, you know, that era. The other day you threw an event, Suns Down, Guns Down, the bonfire event. What inspired the and if y'all didn't make it to the next one. The bonfire event went off and it was a great turnout. What inspired you to put that together?
Mind you, we put it together in a week.
Straight up.
So that was a lousy big thing, but me and my friends, we were at Titlow and we literally just had our own bonfire. We're like, why not throw this with why not do this with the community? Like, let's make it bigger. Like, instead of just having us, let's have a whole bunch of other kids having fun with us. And whoever comes, just comes and we're just gonna get some snacks and stuff and have fun. And we just made the flyers that night and just start promoting and doing the things from there.
And a lot of people, it was a good turnout.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good turnout.
I was like a lot of, I was only expecting like 30 people, but that was a lot of people.
Good music, good vibes, good bond. The kids, you know, playing in water.
The adults had fun themselves too. Like, and that's what I loved the most. That I seen like my mom and my aunties and stuff making some friends with other people. Like, it was just really cool.
And that's the power. You know, y'all create a space. You know, you created a space that invite everybody. That's why I tell anybody that's in this industry and in this work, and then people consider themselves to be doing the work. I'm like, if you exclude the generation that can make things happen, then we're going to ultimately lose every single time. The future is lost if we can't build rapport with you. Because again, you got it already. That's why I told your mom. Shout out to your mom. You already got everything that a brilliant person needs to be extremely successful. I'm glad to be a part of your growth. I'm glad to be any type of support that you would allow me to be, because I can't be anything that you like, boom. So if it wasn't appreciative on your part for what I am able to produce, then you would have never been associated. So I appreciate you for allowing me to be a part of your life and be a part of your growth and whatever you create in society. The next thing is we have another panel. You got another panel that's coming up soon?
Yes, on August 26th.
Okay.
We're going to be at the Bite. Actually, you're on the panel.
Yes, I am. I'm hosting the event too.
Yes. We actually got some good panelists. We got Kai, you, Moreland, Malay, Morgan, and Maya. It's going to be really good.
Hey, y'all want to attend, y'all want to show up, you want to be a part of it. Again, for those that don't know, I'm here with Amyrical, founder and owner and creator of the Black as Almighty organization that will be establishing itself here in the city of Tacoma. Right now, we're on program statuses. Right now, focusing a lot on mental health awareness, emotional intelligence, and these are just some of the directions that these are some of the directions that Amyrical decided to go. And the name in itself speaks volume, because you are a miracle to the community, and you are something that's been long overdue, and to see that you collaborate with business partners like Malik, that's been my guy since young. And I heard you also say something about you're attending TCC. Mm-hmm. So what's your studies in TCC?
Psychology and communication. Mm. Yeah, I'm like super but I know I can do it.
Right. Oh yeah, you can. And why you choose psychology and communication?
Because when I went to Summit, I took like a little pre-psychology thing, and my auntie had these psychology books that she just left over, and I used to look in them like, oh my God, this is so interesting. And when I took that little pre-class, I love showing up every single day and learning something new. Like some of the lessons that I have built for Black as Almighty, I learned from going to that class. So imagine how much I'm going to be able to build my curriculum, build my mind in itself, being able to teach other people all at the same time by learning about my mind. It just sounds like all around a good idea.
100%. And then what you learn, you communicate out. Communication runs the nation is a slogan that people throw out there, and some people just put out there because it sounds catchy. But in truth, communication does build a nation, and it dismantles a nation when people do it incorrectly. So with those things being what it is, I know we're narrowing down time, and I don't want to consume all your time. I don't know who's on here because I can't see from this distance. So if you're watching this video, if you've been watching it for the longest, please leave comments and information in the comment boxes. We'll respond to you guys when we get a chance. Again, today was our first time doing this, and Amyrical was the best pick, in the process of moving forward. And we're looking forward to doing this again. So if anybody got any questions that you would like to ask, please ask so now. Yes, Amyrical, that's all they're good at saying. So that's cool right there. I like that, and I like those phrases. And so, Amyrical, in closing, is there anything in particular that you would like to share with those that are tuned in and listening?
That Brett is one of the best guys I've met. Honestly, I'm really glad that I've met him because I don't even know. He's just like literally so amazing. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to make any of this happen. Honestly, like he opens the doors for me. He does all the things I need him to do without even asking, like at all, And I just really appreciate him for everything that he's done from the moment I've met him. In that one conversation, I told him I wanted to take it serious. He's took me serious ever since then, and I just really appreciate you and Morgan and Jill and Malik, because he's definitely a supporter of mine as well, and he's definitely my guy. I love hanging out with him. He's just full of energy, and I just appreciate my business partners to the fullest, for sure.
No doubt. And I wasn't expecting that answer, but I respect that answer, and I appreciate it to the core. And again, for people to know, to the death of me, my mission is to empower, your culture, empower you and those that relate to your sensibility and your brilliance. One of my mentors back in the day said something powerful to me. His name was Gary Wyatt from Sure House. He was the pastor of Sure House Church. And I met Gary Wyatt the first time I met him. We was at the Urban League. And it was me, him, current mayor Victoria Wooders. And we was all sitting at the table. And people was going around introducing themselves at the table. And it was like, he was like, dang, Threat, man. He said, so you the Threat Brown, huh? I was like, I don't know what you mean by that. He was like, but you the one that I see in community with all of these young people around you. Because at any given moment, Amyrical, you could have called me when Malik was 15, 16, my 2-bedroom apartment, we had that joint full. This is not something the average man would do. They wouldn't open their houses up to young people. And we got 13 sleeping bags. My furniture's thrown outside because my nephew said, Unc, you said make space. And so now I got a living room full of young people, and we just figuring out what we could do. Was it the appropriate way to go about doing it? I'm not going to say it was, and I'm not going to say it wasn't. However, I've learned that would I do something like that again? In the right setting, I would. But to utilize my own personal space, it'd be hard for me to do it because I've seen so much backlash that came from the inability to support. But the point that I'm making is that Gary Wyatt told Victoria Wooders, Mayor Victoria Wooders, he said, one of the things that we have to not be afraid of is losing our positions to people like Threat. You know, if Threat is the one that's out here with these direct relationships with young people and we can see it, we can't continue to keep calling on Threat to fill in and help build something. We have to relinquish some of our positions and our power to allow him to be able to do these things. And when he said that to me, that's how I feel about you guys. I got to be willing to lose my job, my role, and my everything to put y'all into a position. That's how I keep myself incorporated into the things. Because as you get older and as you guys grow in your power, which you have to and you will grow in your power, you know, me being the person in the background, I know I have to be the best cheerleader. If I want to be connected to you guys for the long distance, I have to be your loudest cheerleader. I'm gonna yell and scream as loud as anybody that you probably know outside of your parents and your mom, because Ma Duke's gonna put in some work. But you know, I'm gonna always advocate for you guys in a major way, because I do want to be appreciated by y'all. Yeah. I do want to be accepted by y'all. I don't want to move in culture or future without me being connected to y'all on business, personal, community, just growing, you know, collectively. I learned so much from you. You mentor me, you know what I'm saying, in the spaces of what I need to, like, accept and disrespect. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I have to understand it. I knew it was a phrase, but me accepting it, it helps me get further in life. And so by you being my business partner, it says a lot. It makes me feel appreciated. I feel honored. And I encourage anybody that want to build a strong relationship with community, tap in with Amyrical, follow her social media page, Black as Almighty, her TikTok, Black as Almighty,
Facebook, Black as Almighty. Yeah.
And know that Black as Almighty is a household name now, currently moving and developing the community. If you need a panelist, reach out to Amyrical Tucker on social media. Reach out to Black as Almighty on social media. If you're a school, if you're a professor, if you're somebody working in the health department, if you're working with the city of Tacoma, if you're somebody working with Tacoma Public Schools, this young lady right here is someone that you guys should be building a rapport with, should be building a connection with. If you want access to a lot of young people that you feel like you cannot reach, this is a young lady that can give you access appropriately through certain criteria. You don't just get easy access by just, hey, Amyrical, could you do this? You're going to have to reach certain criteria. And I'm here to help you on whatever that looks like. That's why I encourage you all the time. Go and build whatever relationships you can. Get business cards, emails, text, talk. But when these people start talking about some, hey, let's sit down and have a meeting, I appreciate you incorporating me into that space, because I only want the best for you. And I appreciate your family for entrusting me to be a direct connection to your business growth in this space, because I'm only going to do what's best for you. And I go to hell and hot water with you, for you. You know what I'm saying? And I'll go so you don't have to go. You know what I'm saying? So whatever doors we can continue to open, we're going to keep opening them. So I see somebody's texting something. I want the next interview. Hold on, man. We gotta think. We closing out anyway. We might as well look at it.
I want the next Amyrical Tucker.
Back in the dose, gotta go back to the same. Hey, you already know, Leak, bro. So that's our spiel. We finna get ready to get up out of here. And Morgan, Jill, so true. Man, we appreciate all you guys. That's my partner, Joe. Thank you for your time and energy. He's an amazing person, too. That's our board member. But he's also my brother, for real. It was great. Y'all was great. Amyrical, blah, blah, blah. Morgan Smith. I'm sorry, you guys, we couldn't see none of this stuff because we was in our zone. That's my partner right there, Brody Calvin. I see you up in here, man. Yeah, man, we're going to just keep growing and we're going to keep learning. You guys share this, put the information out there, put the word out there. Shout out to TG Dub. Shout out to Brand New. Shout out to New You. Shout out to Uso Joe, my guy. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Calvin. I love you guys to the max, man. This is my business partner. We moving and making things happen. You guys, please do not ever sleep on Amyrical or what she's creating with her team. The team is growing. We growing. So if community's going to change, then this community's changing right now. That's our spill and we out of here. Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Out on my side, yeah, I'm the golden kid. Brody called my phone, said he gon' go for this. Found the keys to the lock, then I opened it. Peeping through the right lens, how to focus it. Got on my side, yeah, I'm the golden kid. Most close in, I'm stressing on the daily. I want the